This will be the most comprehensive lawn leveling video you have ever seen. From the beginning of the process to the end with real results weeks later, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to get your lawn nice and smooth. And it all starts right now. Here we go again, my friends. It's that time of year to level the Bermuda lawn. And I don't want to waste any time on this one. But you'll notice this episode of Budget Lawn is going to be a little bit different than you're used to. You're going to see me wearing different clothes. We're going to shoot this over about a month's time span. And I'm going to take you along the ride every step I take to complete this process. And we're getting started today by just kind of collecting some of the tools and materials we need to kick things off. So let's get in the truck and get moving. Oh, the old red, white, and blue. It can only be one of two things, the American flag or Lowe's. So our first step of this process is to get in a cut and fertilize. So I have strategically timed this at the same time that I would be putting down my second application of fertilizer for the year. So I'm here at Lowe's so I can pick up the fertilizer that I need. I've already got half of the equation at home, but I need one more bag of something. Then I got to make one more stop after this one to pick up a few tools from my folks' house. So when I get back to my house, I'll show you everything I've got that I'll need to complete all this. All right, so just got everything loaded up from my parents' house, and I know y'all are probably gonna give me some beef down in the comments below when you see what I'm borrowing from my parents. You'll be saying, I can't believe you don't have that stuff, but you know, this is Budget Lawns, and one way I have found that I can save some money is by borrowing things that I never use. Everything that I'm borrowing, this is the one time of year I would use it, so it'd just be sitting in my garage the rest of the year. And I have found that, you know what, folks are going to borrow some things from me, and I'll borrow some things from others, and it's a win-win for everybody. So if you're wondering where I got the extreme organization skills in my garage, check out my dad's setup. I'm telling y'all, it runs in the family. We don't necessarily do this by choice. It's kind of in our DNA. What can I say? It works for us, might not work for you. All right, folks, so I just got back to my place, and as I mentioned today for the sand leveling project, all we're doing is getting together all the materials that we'll need to accomplish it, and I've got them all ready to go. Now, I know what folks are going to say. They're going to say, oh, you should have used this, you should have used that, I've got one of these, I've got one of those. There are a lot of different tools you can use to make this happen. These are just the ones that I'm going to use, and I'm going to do this project exactly the same way I did it last summer because it really, really worked. And I live by the old motto, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only thing I will change up slightly is a lot of folks will like to aerate the yard completely before they do this. I don't find that as necessary for time and money reasons, but I am going to use my Yard Butler hand aerator just to poke a few fresh holes into my spring dead spots and hit some of the areas that I know are extremely compacted, but that will be just about it. So let's go ahead and show you everything that I've got rounded up. And like I said, this is everything I did last year. And just like I did for my first round of fertilization this year, I'm going to throw down a bag of 10-10-10 and the ProCare Natural Slow Release Organic Fertilizer. You can substitute that with Milorganite. That's my Milorganite substitute at least. And there's my little Yard Butler hand aerator tool. So those will come into play first. Now we're not going to go into the details of everything that we're going to do with all these items just yet. We'll go through those step by step as I actually do them as part of this video. So last year I used a wheelbarrow and a big shovel to get the sand onto the lawn. This year I might regret this, but I'm just going to use a couple pickle buckets to get it out of the truck with the standard shovel and then pour the buckets onto the lawn. And after they're on the lawn, I'll just need this simple old-fashioned rake to bust those piles over and get them spread out just a little bit so they can be spread out even more with my 4x3 drag mat. You've heard of it before. I got it off the Facebook Marketplace last year. Brand new for only 30 bucks. Those are quite expensive, so that was quite the deal. Last year I put the bag of fertilizer on it to add some more weight to it to spread the sand out, but this year I'm going to use this messy old concrete block that I've got just to get a little bit more weight on the drag mat to get a more efficient spread. And you might have seen the video that I did recently. I made my own lawn lute or leveling rake, whatever you want to call it. These can get pretty pricey online. You can get them in 36 and 48 inches, 150, 170 bucks. I built this 24 incher for only about $70. So if you're interested in making one of those, I'll leave a link to that video down below. I'll also leave a link to the video I did about lawn leveling last summer so you can see what I did last year. Last year's video just wasn't quite as comprehensive as this one, so I want to give you as many details as possible so you feel as comfortable as possible throwing a bunch of sand all over your yard, because it can be quite the nerve-wracking task. So these are the tools that I use. Now, let's say you don't have all these tools, you don't have access to them, like I was able to borrow some. There are some others that you might have lying around that you might not think will do the job. Now, when it comes to spreading the sand across the lawn, you know, all you gotta do is push it with an old-fashioned rake. But let's say you've got a garage push broom lying around, just an old push broom that you clean your garage out with. You can use that instead of the drag mat or the leveling rake to work the sand down into the turf and into those low spots. So there are a lot of creative ways you can get this done. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There are obviously some tools that are more convenient and handy for you, might make the job easier, but there are other tools that can be used, just might take you a little more time and be a little bit more difficult. But regardless, this is going to be a difficult process no matter what. So, as I mentioned, that's all we're doing today is getting everything ready. We're going to kind of slow play this over the next week. Well, really not next week, 3 or 4 days. And then I'll be keeping up with this progress for the next month or so, and you'll see all that right here in this video. But for now, that's it on today's duties. Next time you see me, we will be getting underway with some work. And we'll start things off with step number 1, mowing, aerating, and fertilizing. I'll see you then. Back in action, my friends, for day number 2 of preparation for the sand project. We're still a couple days out of even seeing any sand on the lawn. So you see, it takes a couple days of preparation, at least for me, to get ready to get this thing fully in full sand mode, I guess you could say. But the other day we talked enough about everything you need for this project. Today, what I am doing is just a run-of-the-mill day in the lawn, mow, edge, blow, and my second round of fertilization for the year. I mentioned a couple days ago that I timed this out strategically so I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone with my second fertilizing of the year and my sand leveling project at the same time, so they both kind of coincide. So I'm not going to show you much in the way of all of that today. If you want to see how I fertilize things, I'll leave a link down below for my first fertilization app of the year. And you can get all the details there, because I'm going to do everything today exactly the same with one minor exception. I will only be throwing down the 10-10-10 today, and I'll explain why. I will be using the ProCare Natural Organic, but it will not go down until after the sand goes down. It will go down on top of the sand. And here's why I do this. A couple days out from sand, I want to mow and fertilize with the 10-10-10 so I can kind of kickstart that growth before the sand even gets piled up on top, or at least get that down under the sand to help kickstart the growth. This synthetic fertilizer will be the fast-acting fertilizer that will really get things moving again real quickly and will help push it up through the sand faster once I get it on there. And so I'll get this down today, and then we'll get sand on it in a couple days, and then I'll throw the ProCare Natural on top just to get some organic material on top of the sand. And this is slow release stuff that will eventually get worked down into the sand and the soil and the grass. So when this stuff starts to kind of burn off and more of the sand starts to disappear, well, guess what? Then we've got this slow release material that's in there, and it'll start helping us a couple weeks down the road in the recovery process to getting back to our normal green lawn. So that's all we're doing today. I'm not going to bore you with the footage of that. We've got so much more to talk about in this video, so I hope you're sticking along with me each and every step we take, because when this is all said and done, you're going to have no concerns about how to smooth out your lawn. Next time I see you, it's sand day. Here we go. Today is the day. It's like my Super Bowl of the lawn season. And I want to explain why I picked this time of year to do it. May give you some clarification on why you see a lot of sand leveling videos more in the spring and not this time of year. So with the Bermuda grass lawn, I have picked a week where it is warm, 85 to 90 during the day with overnight lows in the 60s with no rain in the forecast. We're gonna have to water a lot after we get the sand down, but I want to be in control of the water. I don't want some crazy storm to pop up and just get a heavy downpour and wash a lot of my sand off. So I want dry, hot weather to get this project done. And you definitely want that for Bermuda. Depending on your location, you can do Bermuda leveling earlier in the season if it's warm, but if you do it too early in the spring, it's just gonna take a long time for it to grow back in. So this being a warm season grass, we really want to make sure we're doing it when it's hot out so we can get back to our normal lawn as soon as possible. So a lot of the sand leveling videos you see earlier in the spring, those are cool season turf guys and gals that their grass is already in kind of that vigorous growth mode. So whether you're doing a cool season or warm season grass leveling, you just need to make sure it's your peak growing season for that turf so you can get back to grass instead of sand sooner rather than later. So that's why we're doing it now. We're actually doing it a week or a month earlier than we did last summer because last summer I kind of made that last minute call to do it sometime in the middle of July, but you don't want to do it too late in the season, especially if you've got a Bermuda lawn, and then it doesn't give you enough time to grow back in completely before the fall and winter sets in and it goes dormant. So you want to pick that sweet spot in the middle when it's hot so you can get it to grow back in and everything be back to normal before the fall. And one last thing you want to make sure you do before you start throwing any sand down. I was going to do it this morning, but I knew we'd probably have some dew on the ground. So to save some time, I went ahead and just did it late yesterday. You want to scalp the lawn as low as you can go and bag the clippings. So I just took the manual reel mower down to 1/2 inch and got everything bagged up. I only bag twice a year. I bag in the spring when I do my spring scalp, and then I bag right before I do my sand leveling. And you want to go as low as you can and bag the clippings. That will make it easier for you to see the lowest of the spots, kind of the undulations in the yard, and it will also make it easier for you to work that sand down into those spots and down into the turf. So weather and scalping, two very important things. Now that we've got those out of the way, there's only one thing left. Let's go get some sand.